Thank you for joining us and welcome. It's exciting to see all of the different places that folks are coming from in the chat right now. Again, thank you for joining us, and we're excited to chat with you about the program today. My name is Krista, and I am the program manager for the Masters of Public Policy and Global Affairs. I'm excited to host this info session for you today. I'll be introducing a few colleagues who are going to step in from time to time. And we hope that this is a useful session as you explore the Masters of Public Policy and Global Affairs, and specifically some of the intricacies around being an international student, but also some of the ways that you can look at funding your degree and some of the costs associated with the MPPGA. So I'm going to start sharing our slides now. We're joining you today from the city of Vancouver. So not only is the MPPGA located at UBC, which is consistently ranked one of the top 40 universities in the world, we're also lucky to be situated in Vancouver in British Columbia, Canada, which is consistently one of the most livable cities in the world. It's beautiful, though it's quite rainy outside right now. The UBC, Vancouver itself is located on the unceded territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And UBC Vancouver's Point Grey campus, which would actually be off to the left in this photo, is located on the traditional ancestral and unceded territories of the Musqueam people. So it's a beautiful campus. You'll see some imagery from it throughout the presentation today and in some of our virtual backgrounds, but definitely an asset to be based in such a beautiful place. The program itself is a full-time professional global public policy program. It's delivered by the UBC School of Public Policy and Global Affairs. So though we are the Masters of Public Policy and Global Affairs, we're also situated in a school that does broader work on the topic as well. We like to focus on multidisciplinary policy analysis and design skills. We're trying to prepare the next generation of global change makers to be able to work in subject-specific areas around development, sustainability, and global governance. Vancouver is also situated as a global gateway to the Asian Pacific policy, and there's lots of expertise on that specifically in our faculty. But lots of faculty bringing expertise from all over the world and bringing on a lot of diversity of topics. In terms of some of the concentrations of the specializations, we do have 3 specific streams that a lot of our students specialize in: our development and social change specialization, resource, energy, and sustainability stream, the global governance and security stream, or students can choose to design their own streams based on specific interests that they may have. The general construction of the program is to be taken over 20 months, but there is also an accelerated option, which I will talk about in a minute, that allows for the completion in 16 months. So it's a little bit of a quicker run through the program. So you've heard a little bit about who the school is, what we do, but one of the things that really is our biggest assets as a school is the diversity of our students and where our students are coming from. So up on the screen, you can see a high-level breakdown of our most recent cohort, so our class of 2023, who started in September 2021. In total, the cohort claims citizenship to 18 different countries. They range in age from 21 to 46. They're bringing a wide range of professional experience from professional and academic backgrounds, so coming from all different undergraduate degrees, but also lots of diversity of professional experience. And that in and of itself adds a ton of collective learning to the program. Beyond the incredible expertise of our faculty, students are also learning a lot from each other, and we think that's a really big asset to joining the MPPGA. Is the interests and the talents of our students. So if you were in our first info session, we went a little bit more about the basics of the program, but I wanted to make sure we gave a bit of a high-level summary here. So the MPPGA program does run over 20 months in our standard format. In the first year, students take 4 courses each term, in a standard timetable format. And these courses focus on building basic skills needed to succeed in a public policy career. So it's a lot of the foundations and the ability to really lay that groundwork for looking into public policy in a more specialized way in the second year. In the second year, students take a mix of 5 courses from their stream and electives, along with a course on leadership and their global policy project, which we'll talk about in a second. On a high level, GP Squared, our global policy projects, is a 6-credit course, which takes place during the second year of the program, where students get to do some applied work with real life clients to solve current world policy challenges. You'll hear more about GP Squared shortly. One option that was new last year is our accelerated option. So rather than the option 1, which is our standard format, which is 20 months long, there is an option for a 16-month accelerated program. This 16-month program does forego having a kind of a summer work term, where a lot of our students in the 20-month program will look at applied work experience. It is really great for folks who might be taking a break from a career and want to minimize that time they're stepping away from that professional experience and be able to step back into that a little bit quicker. So a lot of the format, as you can see, does follow similar flow of the program, and it really does change around that first summer term. So that's one option. For the accelerated program, it does work best for students who have at least 5 years professional experience. So we do think it's a better fit for folks who are coming in maybe a little bit with a little bit more work experience on their resume versus someone who might be coming straight from undergrad, where we think that applied work experience would be really important. So with that, and I apologize, I'm realizing I didn't introduce all of the wonderful folks who are joining us today for the info session. In a second, I'll be introducing my colleague Andrea to talk about the Global Policy Project. But we also have colleagues here from International Student Advising and Enrollment Services, who I'll be introducing throughout the presentation. And you'll also be noticing 2 of our colleagues, Ewan and Hui, will be answering questions in the question box and also responding to some of the chat messages. Throughout the presentation, I encourage you to ask any questions you might have in the question field, and we will try our best to get to as many of them as possible. Apologies for not framing that right at the beginning of the session. But with that transition, I'll hand it over to Andrea to talk a little bit about the Global Policy Project.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. As Krista mentioned, my name is Andrea Reynolds, and I'm the manager of Student Academic Services here at the school. And one of my key roles is looking after the Global Policy Project. So this is kind of our capstone course that you'll take in your second year. It's a 6-credit course, and it runs either from September to April or January through till April. You get to work in a team of 4 to 6 students with a real world policy problem and with clients that range from governments to cities to NGOs to the private sector, so quite a broad range. As you can see up on the screen, we have some examples of previous projects that take place kind of all around the world. Generally, for the Global Policy Project, we have a fieldwork component where students can travel to visit the location where their policy issue is taking place and work with the clients directly there and engage with the local people. Over the last couple of years, we've been doing some virtual fieldwork due to the pandemic. And so we've been able to adjust accordingly and have really exciting opportunities for the students to engage there. Hui has just popped a link into the chat that is our catalog and information about GP Squared. You can see all of the projects that we've had from the past I guess, six or 7 years of global policy projects. So it's a really great way to apply all of the skills that you've learned in the first year of the program and really get to work on finding solutions and making recommendations to policy problems. Great, I will pass it back to Krista.
Thank you, Andrea. The GP Squared opportunity is often one of the highlights of a degree for students. So we're happy if you have any additional questions to enter those in the question box, and we'll get to them in the question and answer period. Please do explore that catalog. There's a lot of really amazing projects in there, and it gives you a good taste of the kind of work that is done through GP Squared. GP Squared is one of the ways where, since its conception, the MPPGA has been a globally minded program with a highly diverse group of students, international exchange opportunities, this global practicum, and internship opportunities all over the world. So given that the current global circumstances, and given that we already saw through the introductions that a lot of you are coming from many different countries, I want to hand it over next to my colleague, Abdallah, who is coming from International Student Advising, which is central at the university. So the centralized unit that supports international students. And Abdallah will talk to you a little bit about the type of support that's available through International Student Advising, but also some of the things that you should consider if you're a prospective international student to the university. Abdallah, I'll hand it over to you, and I'll stop sharing screen for a second.
Thank you, Krista. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you today. My name is Abdallah Khalifa. I am one of the international student advisors at UBC. I am also a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. So as you may know, not everyone in Canada is allowed to give advice related to immigration. They have to be authorized by Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada. And all of our advisors in our office who give immigration advice are authorized. They're either regulated Canadian immigration consultants or regulated immigration international student advisors. So I will be sharing my screen to talk about the our guide. Just 1 second. And before I start, as my colleague Krista has mentioned, this is mainly for international students who will be joining this program and who will require a study permit to come and study in Canada. So if one simple basic question is how should I start and how we can help. The first step that you need to take is, once you're admitted to UBC, once you receive your letter of admission, the next step is to apply for a study permit. And applying for a study permit, depending on where you come from, whether you come from visa required country or visa exempt country, we might sometimes see country specific requirements from immigration. What we try to do, we try to prepare very comprehensive tutorial that I will be talking about briefly in a minute. But this would be the first step that you would need to take. Another important thing that I would suggest you familiarize yourself with is health insurance, when you will be covered, the type of coverage, the different types of health insurance. And another question is, when can we can help? And the answer is, as soon as students are admitted to UBC and they have a student ID number, they can get in touch with us and we can give more specific advice regarding their questions. While we might not be able to, for example, submit applications on behalf of the students or do full applications review, we are always more than happy to answer any specific questions that you might have about your application or any of our services. Another important thing that I would encourage you to keep in mind is, While we might not be able to help you with a certain specific question because it's out of scope, we are always referring the students to the proper resources where they might find answers to their questions. As you can see, this is the landing page for the International Student Guide, and I will be sharing the link to this that you may bookmark for your future reference. The landing page covers a lot of topics. So coming to Canada, staying in Canada at this time in light of the travel restrictions might not be as straightforward as things used to be. So what we started with for students coming from abroad, international students, giving them more information about when they can travel to Canada at this time. Traveling to Canada, self-isolation, quarantine might be a requirement. We have also prepared a comprehensive information that you can access to make sure that you have all the required documents and the information you need before preparing for your trip to Canada. Once you scroll down, you can see here before you start at UBC. So again, each of those links will take you to a great resource that might help you get ready and familiarize yourself with what you need to be ready with before coming to UBC. We divided the information below here, and I'll be using the study permit as an example, but of course I would encourage all of you to visit this web page and look into the information there. Here, the immigration resources, health insurance, working while studying, and this is also one of the common questions that we get from students, how and when, how many hours I can work, the difference between working on campus and off campus. So you can find more information about this here. Again, once you're admitted to UBC, the next step would be to apply for a study permit. You can see here, you'll be applying for initial study permit, and we prepared a step-by-step tutorial to help you submit a strong study permit application. You can go over those steps, how to fill out the forms, the required documents, proof of funds, for example. We also provided links to the immigration website where you can download forms. We don't upload any form here because, immigration form, simply because those forms get constantly updated, and I do advise you always to make sure that the immigration website is the only source of information and forms, not any third-party websites, as some of those forms might be outdated on the third-party websites. Another important feature here so again, with resources, there is how to contact our office. This is also important. Our service is provided to students outside Canada, via phone, virtually via Zoom, in person, of course, once you're here in Canada, and via email. For the email, the initial contact with our office would be through an online form that I will also be sharing towards the end of my presentation about how to connect with us. So this is how you can contact us. The office hours, of course, this is a Pacific time, but if you click on submit a question, so the reason why we have, this has been recently introduced, just a triage of questions, and to make sure that you're accessing the proper service from the appropriate office at UBC. For example, if you have a question regarding tuition fees, finances, then this should go to Enrollment Services. If your question is related to your study permit application, then you are at the right place. Once you provide all those information, we try to see if we can provide some resources before contacting us where you might have answers to, and if not, you will end up providing your information, contact information, and your question, and we'll get back to you depending on when you will contact us. Right now, we're lucky to have 1 to 2 business days response time, but this might change, of course, at busier times. I might be able to answer some general question in the chat box or the Q question and answers box. Meanwhile, but if you have a specific question, I would encourage you to look at the guide before asking the question, just in case the time won't allow to go into details with my answers. And of course, if you still have a question that might require further assistance, please contact us and we'll be more than happy to help. That's it for me. Again, it's a pleasure being with you, all of you today, and hopefully I'll get to see some of you or all of you once you are admitted and you start this program on campus. My name is Abdallah Khalifa. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Back to you, Krista.
Thank you, Abdallah. A reminder to folks, we're gonna try our best to answer as many questions as possible in the Q&A function of the Zoom room here, but it's harder to track them in the chat. So please do make sure you're putting all questions through the Q&A function rather than chat. So we're gonna go back to our slides here. Again, to echo what Abdallah said, I highly encourage you to look at the International Student Guide, especially for prospective students. All of that information is on there to look at. And ISA, International Student Advising, is a wonderful resource for students who are admitted into UBC as well. So when we think about, some of you here are coming from backgrounds of being international, some are domestic students, but either way, a big question on your mind is probably around tuition and fees. So tuition, as of September 2021, is up on the screen right now, both for domestic and international students. These payments are spread out over 4 equal installments for the 16-month program and over 5 equal installments for the 20-month program. One thing to note is it's not, with this being installment based, it's not paying per course, it's paying per installment on the program, regardless of the number of courses you are taking in that term or in that installment. There are also additional fees towards the completion of your program. So full-time graduate students can expect to pay approximately $1,052 per year in student fees. This includes UPass, which is a transit pass for Vancouver that allows you to travel to Vancouver and the surrounding suburbs via bus, SkyTrain, and train. And also includes your extended health plan from the AMS. So that does cover quite a lot, as well as access to different student services and student perks. So we recognize that the tuition can be a really high amount for some folks and can be a bit of a barrier to the program. There is some funding available, and I'm going to go through that briefly. But also, I think when you think about the financial costs of a program, that needs to be one of the things that is considered when you're thinking about whether or not this program is a really great fit. So there's lots of reasons why the MPPGA is a wonderful program with a lot of amazing opportunities. And it might not also be the best fit for everyone when they're weighing exactly what they're looking for out of a grad school program and also the financial situation they're bringing into the program. So the MPPGA does have entrance scholarships. These are not full ride scholarships. There are not full ride scholarships available, unfortunately, for this program. As a ballpark, as an idea of kind of what those entrance scholarships look like, they are distributed based on merit, so based on quality of application. They're not based in financial need. They're specifically based in quality of application. This year, about 1/3 of our new cohort received entrance scholarships. And those scholarships ranged from $8,000 Canadian to $30,000 Canadian, which would be dispersed evenly across all of those installments that were mentioned earlier. So it does help towards the cost of the degree, but as you can see, does not approach a full ride scholarship. That being said, there are lots of ways to fund your degree and lots of different resources you can look into for that. For some folks, it's personal savings. For some folks, it's larger UBC awards or external awards. By external awards, there are a lot of different scholarships and awards that are funded either privately or by institutions towards your degree. There are many resources in looking up what some of these awards might be that apply to MPPGA students. One thing to note when you're looking at those awards is that the Master of Public Policy and Global Affairs is not a research-based program. So any of those awards that specifically are tied to research would not be applicable for this program. There are also paid work opportunities and opportunities to look at sponsorships and scholarships in your home country if you're coming from an international student background. Happy to answer questions about this in the question period at the end, but please do put in your questions as they come in, again, into that Q&A function so we can keep track of them. We know that thinking about the financial situation coming into a program like this can be really stressful and can be something that you're really looking for resources on how to think through financial planning for this program. And on that, we're very lucky to have our colleague Fran from Enrollment Services to talk to us a little bit about the work that Enrollment Services does to support students in thinking about their financial planning for the university. So Fran, it'll be over to you.
Thanks, Krista. Lovely to see everybody here today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I just want to talk a little bit about the work of Enrollment Services. We are a central office, and our team particularly is the student support and advising team. There are 45 advisors in the team, so we're a really huge team, lots of expertise. And our role really is to provide all students at UBC with financial and non-academic advice. We can obviously help with questions about tuition and student fees and how to make a payment. We spend quite a bit of time working with students before they arrive, looking at budgeting and financial planning, and there are some lovely resources for that, which we'll put in the chat for you. If you are lucky enough to be a sponsored student, we have a sponsorship billing team. So perhaps if you're sponsored by your employer or your home country or another organization, we can arrange for invoices to be sent out to your sponsor. We also have lots of experience working with Canadian and US student loans. So if you have any questions about that, please do connect with us and we can help you with that. A lot of what we do too is providing letters confirming enrollment and the cost of programs. This is for international students who need to apply for lines of credit or loans from their bank in their home country. What I will say, and we have seen the cost of the fees, it's very, very difficult for international students to get loans once they're in Canada from banks, or you wouldn't be eligible for a government student loan if you're not a Canadian citizen or permanent resident of Canada. So it's really important to do some research and to start looking into sources of funding before you begin. Anyway, that's an overview of the sort of work that we do in Enrollment Services, but please do connect with us if you'd like some more information or you'd like us to talk about your particular situation. Back to you, Krista.
Great, thanks, Fran. Those links that Fran mentioned are in the chat, so please do explore the different ways that you can connect with support when you're thinking about financial planning for this program. On top of some of the things that Fran mentioned, as well as the funding that's available through the program, one other way students explore financial planning for this program is through paid work experience. So I'm not going to go into this in a ton of depth because as you'll see at the bottom of this slide, co-op, professional development and career paths are the focus of the third info session, which is coming up on December 8th. So if you're really interested to hear where our alumni have gone in their careers, but also some of the career development and professional development available during your time at MPPGA, that will be a really important session to either tune into live or to catch the recording of on our YouTube channel. But some of those paid work experience opportunities, we do have a co-op program which offers students paid relevant work experience in policy professions. These positions provide students with professional skills and experience. They can network with important change makers in public policy. And at times, sometimes they can help bridge into a role after graduation. For most students, that work term will take place if you're taking the normal option, the 20-month option, in the summer between their first and second years. Around 1/3 of our students tend to participate in co-op every year. It is not the only way to gain work experience, but we do have a career and co-op manager, Carrie Ross, who you'll hear from in the next session, who is dedicated to supporting your journey through co-op if that's a journey that you're looking to take. But additionally, UBC does have work-learn roles, which are 10-hour-a-week on-campus roles that you would take throughout the term. They do go up to 20 hours a week during the summer, if that's something you were exploring. And they give you the opportunity to build skills while also doing work that is contained within a certain amount of hours so as to not overload the rest of your schoolwork. Still would be something to consider because the MPPGA can be quite intensive, but the 10 hours a week is an opportunity to gain some income while you're studying. There are also research assistantships and teaching assistance opportunities, both internal to the school, but also at other departments of the university. So the opportunity to work directly with faculty members as they work on different research projects through the RA opportunities. And also to look at TA, teaching assistant opportunities, which might include, there are some TA opportunities for MPPGA students to be in their second year TAing for the first year classes. But there's also opportunities to look at teaching assistant opportunities in other departments where you might have a background to be able to support with classes for undergraduate students. So those opportunities do exist. Additionally, there are different internship opportunities that either sometimes are brought to your attention through the school and through the program, or might be things you discover on your own. So there are opportunities to look at paid work as an opportunity to fund your program. And again, if you're really interested in career development, which I'm sure you all are coming to this session, I highly encourage you to attend our next info session on December 8th. You'll have a great opportunity to interact with some alumni of the program, as well as our career and co-op manager, Carrie Ross, who talks about co-op specifically, professional development broadly, and opportunities after the MPPGA. So we're quickly approaching our question period now, where I know that Hui and Yuan have been doing a fantastic job answering your questions already, but I'll make sure that some of those are answered live in a second. But just wanted to briefly touch on some of the admissions requirements. So if what you've heard so far sounds interesting and engaging and you're excited to apply for the MPPGA, some things to know are that our applications for 2022 do close on January 20th, 2022. So we encourage you to get started on that early to explore what the requirements are in the application process and to start thinking through your application now. The requirements are the equivalent of a four-year bachelor's degree in which you had a minimum GPA of 76%. And then also if you did your previous schooling or coming from in a place where English was not the language of instruction, there will be a requirement to submit your English language test scores, and the requirements for those are up on the screens right now. One thing to note is that test scores are only valid for 24 months. So if you took one 3 years ago, you probably have to revisit that. Those requirements are from the university itself, not from our program. So we have very little flexibility on specifically the English language test scores there. If you're wondering, okay, that sounds great, but what are you looking for as a program? You can see on the right-hand side of this slide, a cross-section of where folks were coming from last year's cohort and the cohort before. So you can see that folks are coming from all different places. Again, that diversity is really important for that interdisciplinary learning. Lots of folks coming from political science and the social sciences, but also from economics and business, from English and journalism, from science, from law, international relations, folks coming from all different places. And again, bringing all sorts of professional experience. So if you're curious about your qualifications, and it's a very nuanced question about your specific application, I encourage you to reach out to the program and set up either ask a question or set up a conversation. A lot more information is also available on our website if you want to explore some of the admission requirements there and some of the tips to success. So right before I turn it to our Q&A, I did want to point out that if this is the first info session that you've attended, some of the broader why attend the MPPGA information was handled in our first info session. So if you missed that, no problem. It's available on the School of Public Policy and Global Affairs YouTube page. A very quickly thrown together graphic by myself is on the screen right now. And you can see the Why Choose the MPPGA program from October 7th is there for your viewing as well. So if you want to review, you're welcome to peruse that. We might have some of the answers to your questions if you're a bit more of a verbal learner. So with that, I'm going to look at the Q&A function and see what we have. Oh, wow, Hui and Ewan have done such a great job at answering so many of these questions so far. I see a question about the path for a doctorate after the MPPGA. Andrea, I can start answering this question, but I might hand over to you because I'm not sure if our alumni have pursued doctorates. I've been in the program for a couple months now. But for the path to doctorate, there is the ability to look at a doctorate degree. That being said, because MPPGA is not research-based, it wouldn't be a clear and linear path to a doctorate degree. So that might be something to consider if you're really into the research and academic background in whether or not a research-based program is what you're looking for right now. Andrea, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I can just confirm that we've had, I think, about a handful of students over the years who've gone on to a PhD. Those students have often done research work alongside the MPPGA program, whether through an RA-ship or working directly with a faculty member, or they might have had another master's degree that was research oriented ahead of time. Because when you're applying to PhD programs, you do need to show that type of research background. So it is possible, but as Krista said, there are some extra steps you would need to take because our program is primarily geared towards professionals and heading into the workforce directly after.
Thanks, Andrea. I'm just going to answer the question about references that just came in live to see the other one's been answered. Is it possible to provide the letter of recommendation from a professional referee instead of an academic one? Yes, our requirements for application are for 3 references. If you have under 5 years work experience, the expectation is that 2 of those references would be academic. But if you have more than 5 years experience, we know that the academic relationships might be a little bit further in the past for you, or you might have maintained them. We still do require 1 academic reference, but you are more than welcome to be pulling from 2 professional references if you are in that category of more than 5 years work experience. Otherwise, we do look for 2 academic references for folks who might be a little bit newer to their career. One thing to note for that 5 years experience is that folks can draw from all types of experience for that. So you're looking at your, some of you might have a very clear line to that 5 years experience. And for others, thinking about the experience they can draw from this program might be through volunteer, they might be through internship, they might be through co-op that you took during your undergraduate degree. So make sure to think about all different types of experience that have led you to being interested in pursuing the MPPGA when you think about your application. Great, I see Hui is typing, there we go. I did see a couple questions coming in, which I think have already been answered, but about kind of a successful application. So I just want to briefly say that an important component of your application is having clarity of exactly what you're bringing to the program and exactly what you want to explore. And if there's specifically, if there's a specific policy challenge that you're really invested in, really interested in, and really wanting to impact positively, that would be a good way to bring together some of your experience, both academic and professional, into telling us the narrative of why you think you may be a good fit for this program and why this program will be helpful for you in pursuing further academic or professional pursuits. So that clarity of narrative and being able to tell us exactly what you're looking for, the more clarity you have, that'll help with your application as well. So there's a question in the chat right now. Because of the completion of graduation in 2021, at least 2 of those recommendations would have to be academic, so from faculty members. So that would be something that you would have to look for those academics, just because that is a rule we've set for under 5 years experience. And then the second question is about the acceptance rate. Andrea, I don't know if you know what our current acceptance rate is. I think when you're thinking about acceptance, thinking about why this program is the right fit for you is the most important part. And if you are a great fit for the program, that'll be what evaluates whether you get accepted or not, rather than a hard and fast acceptance rate. But I'm not sure if I have the data on that right now.
I can, there is some data on our graduate studies website that shows the number of applicants and the admissions rate. So I'll pull up that link and post it in the chat for everyone.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Any final questions? You're welcome to put them in the Q&A, directing towards the program itself or towards our colleagues from Enrollment Services or International Student Advising. I see Hui has also put the FAQ session of our website in the chat. I encourage you to explore that as a great way to pre-answer your questions before maybe having to reach out. There. Okay, there's a question about the age range of students. We did have on the slide earlier, so our students here, I'll actually go back to the slide, excuse me, as it quickly flips through the whole presentation. Our age range is quite wide for this program, which is a really great part about it. So this year we had about 60% of our students in the 21 to 24 age range, but also a large percentage of our students are between 25 and 34, and still a good portion over the age of 35. So folks are coming from a really big diversity of backgrounds, and we think they all find really great assets in the program. This specific data is from the current newest cohort, so from the class that entered in September 2021, and is our graduating class of 2023. There's a question about, apologies folks, these are being answered in different orders because I see people typing and answering them for you. So there's a question about economics or statistics. Yes, taking a course in economics or statistics can complete the requirements. Yes, you can take it before the winter term. So there's more information on our website of what exactly qualifies as completing the quantitative background requirements specific to economics and statistics. So taking courses, specific courses in your undergraduate degree, for example, might qualify you for that. There also is a free self-assessment that is mandatory to complete for the program before starting your degree to make sure that those skills are still updated. So that will be something that would be sent to all admitted students. But please do look at whether or not that's been a qualification that you've already satisfied through previous study, or make a plan for how to satisfy that requirement if it's not something that you've already explored. Great. One question is about applying to enter the school in September 2022. When should you start your application? So the applications are open now. My recommendation as the manager of this program would be to start now. Doesn't mean you have to complete it a month in advance, but it is helpful to take some time to think through how to make your application the best pitch possible for yourself. And they do close in January 20th. We do recommend that you reach out to those references as far in advance as you have chosen who those references will be. So highly encourage, if you're hoping to start in September 2022, to start at least looking at that application now, and thinking about your timeline to submitting that for the January 20th deadline. Question about work experience. Is work experience a requirement? We do encourage folks to, we do think that having work experience is an asset to your application. So folks with kind of 2 to 5 years work experience is a great target to be aiming for. That being said, we do have lots of students who have come straight out of an undergraduate degree, and they have found their clarity in wanting to do this degree in different ways. So if you can clearly articulate why exactly you think this program is a good fit, even if you don't have work experience in the field, I still encourage you to apply. But also thinking about where that decision to pursue the MPPGA specifically is coming from, if it's not coming from your work experience. So being able to tell that story and knowing it for yourself is going to be really essential to a quality application. Well, we do definitely have a good portion of students who come straight from an undergraduate degree, but know why they're wanting to pursue this program. Great. The other question is about having our graduate diploma from university to apply. So you would need to, and I'll ask my colleagues to step in here if I misspeak, but you would need to have your graduation diploma to start at the university. So that is a requirement for the university to have at least a 4-year degree. That being said, because of the timelines, if folks are coming straight out of undergraduate, some of them don't have that in hand by the time they're applying, but successful completion of their degree would be a requirement for starting the degree and accepting your offer. Any final questions? Okay. I'll take, we do have 10 more minutes for questions, so I'm going to make sure that I pause to make sure they have time to come in. I do see a question about completing your bachelor's degree 7 years ago. Does that long period impact one's admission? The length between the finishing of your undergraduate and the starting of your degree is less important than how you're articulating why you're finding your way to the MPPGA. So thinking about how any experience that you gained in between helped you curate your application is going to be really important to that. But coming straight out of undergrad or having a gap between your undergraduate degree and now is not seen as a negative in your application. You are very much encouraged to apply. And I also encourage you to think about all of the experience you've had in between. This goes for folks with a gap between their undergraduate degree or ones coming straight through. As I mentioned earlier, please do think about how your volunteer experience, any internship experience, co-op, part-time work can be considered part of your work experience and part of your qualifications for this program. I see a question about if this is it for a PhD program only. So the MPPGA is a master's program and is not a PhD program. There was a question earlier about opportunities to pursue a PhD after, but this program itself is a master's program. If you have any specific questions to your case, I highly encourage you to contact the program directly, talking through some of the specifics to individual students' experiences and cases, and some of those logistics will be more useful in those direct conversations. So feel free to email the program and Hui or Yoon, if one of you could repost that email back in the chat, that would be really helpful. And we can help you navigate some of the intricacies of your application. Thank you, Hui. There's a question in the chat about someone who has their master's degree. We have folks who have done that, who have completed a previous master's degree before starting the MPPGA. You would, if your question is related to the accelerated versus the general option, I would consider specifically that work experience component and how important that component is for you in your degree. That is one of the single biggest impacts of taking the accelerated option, is that you're foregoing that term where most folks are gaining the most applied work experience. There's a question about conditional offers with the quantitative course. So we have had folks receive offers before they have completed that quantitative assignment, that quantitative requirement, but that is mandatory to complete before starting your classes in September. So some folks will complete that in the summer before they start their degree, but they are mandatory components. We make them mandatory because they're pretty essential to success in the program. And we really want to make sure we're setting you up for success so that those courses that you're taking in first year are something you're equipped to handle going into them. But yes, some folks do complete that after application for sure. Okay. So I see there's still a couple more questions. I do encourage anyone who felt like their questions haven't been answered to please reach out. A lot of our information can be found on that FAQ section of our website, but also you are highly encouraged to reach out and contact the program. There have been multiple avenues for doing that currently in the chat in Hui's latest message. There's a general program inbox there, but you can also book a one-on-one appointment with our strategic recruitment specialist, Victoria, who's here in the session right now, if you want to chat about your application and some of those reasons why the MPPGA might be a great fit for you. So I do encourage you to think about that. If you have some nuanced questions, think about those one-on-one opportunities there. And otherwise, we have 5 minutes, and I just want to remind you that our previous info session is available on the YouTube site. If you haven't attended that one, I highly encourage you to watch it. You can also have an opportunity to hear from our current Student Association President, Jemima, who was a speaker on that session, as well as our Program Director, George Hoberg, who spoke during that session as well. Great overview of the foundations of the program. And then to also attend our co-op professional development and career path session, which is upcoming on December 8th. As we close the session, I was wondering from my colleagues who have joined us today, so from Fran, Andrea, and Abdallah, if there's one piece of advice you would give to a student who's considering applying for a master's program at UBC or the MPPGA specifically, what would it be?
I may start. If you're in doubt, ask, especially when it comes to international students applying for a study permit. I always tell our students there is no silly question. Each and every question is important. While we have worked very hard to prepare resources for you to address your concerns and some of the questions you have, you might still not find the proper answer for your case. So feel free to reach out. We're here to help. And I wish you all best of luck.
Thank you. Fran?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to present today to the group. I'd like to say the most important thing you can do with regard to your financial situation and doing this program is to do a lot of planning. We did put some links in the chat. If you go to your search engine too, and you just type in UBC budgeting tools, there's a free Excel spreadsheet there, which is interactive. So you can play around with your budget. You know how much your fees are going to be. You can play around to what do you think the cost of your accommodation is going to be, how much you're going to need to live. So you can actually play around with that tool and work out, whether this is the right year, whether 2022 is going to be your year for doing this program. Because ideally you want to have your funding set up and in place so that once the program begins, you don't have to worry about it. Just keep track of your budget as you're going along. The budget sheet works on a monthly basis, so you can track how much you're spending on certain things and are you overspending or underspending, or where could you change things a bit. But essentially, once the program starts, you want to be able to focus on your academics, focus on making friends within your cohort, because these people are going to be your network for the rest of your life. So get the finances in place so it's not a worry for you once you start. And echo Abdullah's sentiments. The best of luck with your application, and I do hope that we get to see you in Vancouver in a couple of years.
And one last thing to add on my end, having been through grad school myself, I think the biggest advice I can give is really research all the programs out there and make sure that we're the right program for you. It's a big time commitment, a big financial commitment. Our program is fantastic. There's a lot of amazing things about it, applied learning, connections with policymakers around the world, lots of great research happening at UBC, but you have to make sure it's the right program for you as well. So take a look at our faculty, take a look at our courses, and we hope to see your application soon.
Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. Echoing what everyone has said, we look forward to seeing your applications, and please do reach out if you have any questions. The goal is that you try to figure out, settle as many of those questions as possible before you apply, but especially before you come to UBC. So please don't be afraid to ask those questions. We hope we're the right fit for you, but we hope you also explore that. And thank you so much for coming to our second info session. And we hope to see you at our third info session focused on career development on December 8th. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to our panelists, and have a lovely day.